The Eminence in Shadow, episode 12, The Truth Within the Memories. So this episode is very lore heavy. It's just a lot of info dump. So yeah, for anyone who wants more like world building and stuff like that, this is the episode for you. So we start off with Cid being very proud of himself, believing that with the huge spectacle that he made, a lot of people are going to be so focused on Shadow that they're not going to pay any attention to Cid and the fact that his name was called for the tournament, or I guess I should say for the trial. And all of a sudden this giant red door shows up. And we kind of get a little humorous moment where Cid keeps trying to teleport away from the door and the door just keeps following him. And after a while he's like, all right, whatever. I might as well just go check inside because I feel like this thing's going to be following me everywhere until I see what's in it. So he goes inside. And then we cut to Princess Rose, Alexia, Natsumi, aka Beta, and Nelson. I always find that name funny, just Nelson. Like everyone has like these weird names, and then there's Nelson. But yeah, they're still back at the Coliseum, where the giant door is there, and Nelson tells his people to evacuate the area, like get rid of all the civilians and stuff like that. So everyone leaves except for Nelson, Princess Rose, and Alexia, and Natsumi. So Nelson tells them to leave the area when all of a sudden Alpha and Shadow Garden show up, including my favorite girl, Delta. And we actually get to see more of Delta in this episode. I was so excited for that. Hopefully we get to see more in future episodes. She's just so awesome. But Alpha basically leaves Epsilon in charge. Meanwhile, Alpha takes some of her Shadow Guard members, including Delta, and they go through the gate. Nelson, of course, is pissed off. He wants them to stay out of the sanctuary. Rose demands of Epsilon, like, what do you plan on doing? And she tells him to stay here until the doors close. Nelson, and she says, but we're going to be taking Baldy with us. Nelson asks, like, what could you be planning to do with the sanctuary? And Epsilon says, it's not about what we do here. It's about what we find out in there. That's when more Shadow Guard members appear and they hold Beta hostage. Of course, this is all an act, obviously, because Beta is part of Shadow Garden. But Beta does a really terrible job of acting. Even Epsilon is just like kind of staring at her like, your acting is so bad. Like it almost seems like Beta's kind of getting off on being a hostage. But everyone else kind of buys it. And we get this funny moment where Nelson's like, I'm not going anywhere with you. One of his members, like one of his secret guards named Venom, attacks. And Venom goes and slices at Epsilon from behind, but she dodges. She does like a matrix dodge, but as she's doing a matrix dodge, the sword slices through her boobs and cuts it off. Only it's not cutting off her boobs because her boobs are so flat. It's cutting off the slime that she made to make her boobs look bigger. And yeah, basically this is her Berserk button. She gets pissed off. She's like, I will not be exposed. And she slices the crap out of Venom until he explodes into gory bits. And then she just glares angrily at Nelson and asks if he saw anything. And of course, he admits that he did not. Epsilon just angrily grabs Nelson by the head and says, come on, Baldy, we're going. And they go through the gate. Meanwhile, the Shadow Guard members grab Beta and jump through the gate with her. And then, of course, Alexia and Princess Rose decide to follow after. So they jump through the gate. They end up landing on top of Beta. Alexia accidentally grabs her boobs. And then she starts like yelling at Beta that she didn't mean to grab her fat lumps. So yeah, we get to see more of Alexia just being jealous of Beta's assets. Everyone's upset at Beta. Epsilon, of course, is pissed off that Beta has bigger boobs in her. Alexia is pissed off that Beta has bigger boobs in her. This is where we get the meat of the story, where we see the Shadow Guard members are conducting investigation of the sanctuary. And at some point, they see Oliver, the hero Oliver. It turns out that Oliver is not a man, like everyone claims he is. It's actually a woman. And it's not only a woman, it's an elf. And it's not only a female elf, but it's a female elf that looks exactly like Alpha. Kind of showing that Alpha is like a reincarnation or a descendant, I should say, of Oliver. Well, we'll get back to that. We cut to Cid, and Cid's like in this room, and he sees Aurora, the Calamity Witch, and she's strapped to a chair in a straitjacket. And she basically asks Cid if he can free her. And Cid's like, oh, you're stuck. I thought you were just doing this for some kind of training exercise. And she's like, kind of like, that would be kind of weird training. And Cid's like, no, I do it all the time. So yeah, I can just kind of picture Cid strapping himself with a straitjacket as some kind of training. Maybe he's trying to like figure out how you can like escape from straitjackets and stuff. But yeah, so just a little humorous moments there. But he ends up freeing her, and there's like this nice, almost flirty back and forth between the two of them. She basically explains that I know how to get us out of here. Basically, we have to go through some memories, and once we can destroy the memories, then this place will cease to exist in a sense, and you'll be free. And Cid asks, well, if that happens, what happens to you? And she says, I'll disappear forever. Meanwhile, we cut back to the rest of the group, Alpha and them. And this is where we get the huge lore dump, where it turns out that the Sanctuary were actually a bunch of scientists, and Oliver wasn't like this grand hero. Instead, what Oliver was they were running a bunch of human experimentations on kids, on all different types of kids, and most of them died. Only some of them were able to withstand it. Oliver being like the main one that could withstand the experiments. And what they were trying to do was they were trying to create these kids to fight Diabolos, not necessarily to kill Diabolos, but to extract blood from Diabolos, because they realized that they can use Diabolos' cells to create this. In here, they call it the bead of Diabolos. I think in the manga, they call it the tears of Diabolos. I like the tears of Diabolos better. Sounds cooler than beads of Diabolos. I think in one of the other translations, they call it drip of Diabolos, which is just a weird phrase. But basically, they use these. I'm just going to go with tears. They use these tears of Diabolos to. It makes them immortal. Basically, once a year, they have to take one tear of Diabolos, one piece of Diabolos' cell, and it will make them immortal. That's one of the. But the drawback is they have to do it once a year. The other drawback is that they can only synthesize 12 a year. So only 12 people will be able to become immortal in a sense. And that's when Alpha points out the Knights of Round have 12 members on them. Isn't that kind of a coincidence? So yeah, it turns out Nelson is a member of the Knights of Round. He was also one of the scientists that was doing experiments on kids so that he could live forever. So yeah, the whole sanctuary, the church, they're all terrible. They've just been experimenting on kids so that they can have immortality. That's pretty much the gist of it. I mean, there's like a lot more, but I mean, if you want more details, you can just read the book, the manga, or watch the episode yourself. But that's pretty much the gist of it, is that scientists were doing human experiments on kids, which later end up to like some of the possessed ones. They created Oliver, not so that she can kill Diabolos, but that she can contain Diabolos, so that she can like rip off pieces of Diabolos. They can, extract cells from Diabolos to make immortality serums. So one of the kids in this is Aurora. We see a flashback of her crying, and Aurora walks up to her and slaps her in the face and tells her that, crying won't solve anything. And I'm sure you guys can maybe start figuring out where this is going. But for anyone who hasn't, let's just say that, I kind of pointed out in the last episode that Aurora has another name that she goes by. Other than Aurora and the Witch of Calamity, there's another name that she's known by. And I'm sure you guys can kind of piece it together. I'll only give you hints that the anime has mentioned. So, Aurora has another name she goes by. She was defeated by Oliver in the past. She's in the sanctuary along with the other kids that were being experimented on that had to deal with extracting, cells from Diabolos. Can you figure out who Aurora is now? Yeah, eventually Nelson reveals himself as one of the knights. He's going to attack the group when Delta just stabs him in the heart from behind and then chucks his body off a railing. And then someone else mentions to Delta, like, I thought the plan was to keep Nelson alive until we extracted every information that we can from him. And then Delta starts kind of cowering and apologizing. Like she kind of she acts like a dog that just did something bad and is being reprimanded. And then Alpha is like, don't forget the other lesson that I taught you, Delta. Always make sure your prey is dead. Nelson pops out of the water, and he's in his Knights of Round like body suit, and he's going to attack. Basically, separates the group. So Princess Rose, Alexia, Beta, Delta, and Alpha are still in one area. The rest of the Shadow Garden are like in a separate area. And yeah, Delta basically gets down on all fours, and she's about to charge at Nelson, and that's when the episode ends. I enjoyed the episode. Didn't really get any action whatsoever. I mean, the only, I guess, action you can really, say would just be, Epsilon slicing Venom, and then Delta stabbing Nelson. But this was very more of a lore dumping, world building, kind of just giving us a whole backstory of the Sanctuary, the Knights of Round, and more on Diabolos and the cult of Diabolos and what they're trying to do. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. And I'm looking forward to the future episodes. So this is episode 12 out of 20, I believe. So I wonder if when we hit 20, is that it? Is that like the series finale? Or is that just the season finale? Are we going to get another season of Eminence and Shadow? Or are they basically going to wrap it up at the end of this? I hope it's the former. Like, I hope it's just the season finale and not the series. Because obviously the series is still ongoing. So if this was supposed to be like a season finale at episode 20, it would be an ending that the anime makes up itself. And I never really care for that. So I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe there's already been information out there about if this is going to be a series or season finale at episode 20. If so, I haven't read it yet. If any of you guys have any knowledge on that, feel free to let me know in the comments. But yeah, I'm hoping we obviously get more past the 20 episodes because this series is awesome. But yeah, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. It was great. I liked it. It was good. A lot of information, a lot of world building, not much else. But I do like the fact that not only did we get the world building, but we got some like comedy mixed within the world building. So it wasn't just like huge info dump. Like we got some like lighthearted bits to kind of ease up on the fact that kids were being experimented on. But yeah, there you go. Eminence and Shadow episode 12. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later.